The key here is to work right. So work right based on what? Work right based on what you want to accomplish. What are your ambitions? Like, be brutally honest with what you want out of your life. It's not like the book is not about working less. It's really about working right. If you want a business that generates 7 figures a year and you want to work long hours, that's your choice, but there's a way to work right, or to, properly manage yourself within this process. The truth is, for most people want to have livable hours. They want to have, a setup where they can both enjoy their business in their life.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is David Ruel, who wrote the book Done by Noon: How to Achieve More by Noon Than Others Do in a Full Day. That's pretty powerful. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. While you're there, you can sign up for a monthly email where I share the best articles I read this month, let you know about upcoming episodes, and share a little wisdom. You can also listen to coaching calls under the Coaching Calls tab. I also share the most interesting articles I read every week on Facebook at facebook.com/Richer Soul. And there's also a Facebook group where you can ask questions and interact with other listeners. Today's quote comes from Tim Ferriss. To enjoy life, you don't need fancy nonsense. But you do need to control your time and realize that most things just aren't as serious as you make them out to be. And today, we are going to focus on time and getting rid of all the activities we waste time on. And as you know, Tim Ferriss wrote the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, which is the way to work at a job, especially if you don't love it. Before we get to that, let's review last week's action step, which was every day, talk to yourself in a positive way the moment you wake up. As you know, I do this. How you start your day sets the tone, so make sure you get started on a good one. Starting off with gratitude helps to create an amazing day. And the reality is, life is amazing. I'm always thankful. I hope it is for you as well. I feel like I live better than most kings ever have, with all the comforts we have today. We're truly blessed to be living during these times, and hopefully they become even better. Today, we focus on time management and focusing on our bigger goals, and they need to be in alignment with what we want to achieve. Beyond just the money, we only cover a fraction of what is in the book in today's interview. Here's the deal. Each and every one of us has the same 168 hours, the same 52 weeks. Some people get a lot done, and some people accomplish next to nothing, even though they're busy. Let's fix that. David Ruel is a former competitive physique athlete turned serial entrepreneur, author, speaker, and leadership mentor. After founding and growing multi-million-dollar online companies in the field of health, fitness, and sports nutrition for nearly a decade, Dave saw the dark side of entrepreneurship gradually rob him of his freedom, leaving him burned out and unfulfilled. Refusing to conform to a broken business culture that promotes workaholism and nonstop hustle, Dave created a sustainable structure and systems for his life and business to reclaim his freedom without sacrificing the growth of his companies. Fueled by the passion for entrepreneurship and human performance, he launched Ethic, an innovative leadership development company that helps busy entrepreneurs maximize their impact and freedom. Let's meet our guest. Welcome to Richer Soul, David Ruel. It's great to have you join us today.
Rocky, good to be with you, my friend. Thank you.
And I'm excited to learn from you. As always, we start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
Yeah, so I grew up on a small island on the south coast of Newfoundland called Saint Pierre and Miquelon. Small archipelago, 6,000 people. So grew up there. So born and raised there. Spent 18 years of my life there. And, grew up in middle class family. Both my dad was a school teacher teaching mechanics when I grew up. And when I was about 13, 14 years old, he started his own construction business, and he had that business for about 25 years. And he's retiring right now. So in the process of just retired from construction last year, and is going to be fully retired next year. And my mom was a government worker, so, very middle class. School teaching me about money, other than basic accounting, not much, my friend. It's like entrepreneurship. It's like I feel like this is where schools could do better. In my time, they didn't do much now.
And it's not surprising. Did anything change when your father left the workforce and started his own company? Did you notice any shifts, or was it an easy transition?
I was young, so I didn't feel like any financial stress. We never, needed anything. Like my parents never made us felt like, stressed about money or whatever. Like they kept that very private in some ways, not something like a subject we would talk about much, right? So no, there was not that much. I think it was more of a stress for my dad. I could imagine now, being an entrepreneur, seeing what it is to run a business versus like firm living job security. But it was always, I think he did way better as an entrepreneur anyway than as a school teacher. So yeah, it's but I gotta say, beyond money, I think the fact of seeing him really be happy in his job was and doing it well is a great construction worker and entrepreneur. He's a kind of person who can do a little bit like literally everything. He built his first house. He was 19 years old, like when he started building his first house. And yeah, he's kind of like can do it all like that. So
he's good with his hands and good with tools, right?
So what he always told me, he told me like, you know what, you can be as smart as you want to have, as many diplomas as you want, as long as you have good hands, you will never run out of work. That's what he always said to me.
It's funny because in this ever-changing world, the one thing they talk about, the one thing that can't be shipped to another country to be done cheaper is construction work with your hands, the trades, right? If you need an electrician or a plumber or a framer or a roofer, that's not going to some other country to be done cheaper. You're going to pay premium and you're going to pay it here. And so it's guaranteed, job security, and the trades pay well. If you're smart and you're good, you can make a very good living and build a business out of it too.
Yeah, that's what he did. And he did that in construction. He did quite a bit of things like through his company. And he went through actually green energy for about 10 years. Like his last 10 years of his company was mostly building green energy systems and off-grid setups for remote houses. So houses who were pretty much like out of the power grid. And he did that with, his cottage, for example, my parents' cottage is fully self-sufficient. Like they collect rainwater, they have a windmill, they have solar panels, they have like you can go, it's not on the power grid, and you can go there and live like it's like a normal house. It's super comfortable.
How rural is it, or is it more within the city?
No, well, my parents spend their like the winters in the city, on one of the islands, and their cottage is on another island, which doesn't have is not like the part of the island, the southern part of the island where they spend their summers is completely off the grid. So there's no power there. So you need that setup if you want, with windmills and it has that whole, it's pretty impressive. Like all the solar panels, the windmill, there's like a series of batteries that he has there, and it's very sophisticated. And the house is like, they have TV, they have like everything there. I mean, it's quite amazing. And that area of the island actually like has many seasonal residences for people from the other island, and yeah, he pretty much set up the whole. He had that niche there. He set up the whole island pretty much off the grid, so it was pretty cool.
Do they have internet?
You know what he does?
Wow.
He has some kind. It's like, I don't know. It's some kind of internet. It's not satellite, but it's like some kind of mega Wi-Fi where they connect to an antenna like a few kilometers away, and this. Every time I go there, I try to go every summer, and I'm able to work actually from that remote place and hold meetings on Zoom and stuff. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. It's pretty cool.
I'm guessing it's a bit more relaxed, or
it's very relaxed.
Because you're disconnected, right?
Yeah, you're connected and disconnected at the same time. For me, it's like, it's why I went in business for, to have that flexibility, but also and where I live personally here in New Brunswick, I live in a rural community. It's a small town. I'm pretty remote, I would say, compared to other to big cities. Like the closest big city that we have is Moncton, New Brunswick. It's it's almost 200,000 people, but it's a 3-hour drive, almost a 3-hour drive, and we're in the East Coast, the Canadian East Coast, and let's say the first major city, Montreal, which is multiple million people, it's 10 hours away, so it's pretty far. So we're but we have great internet here. It's all I need, and we're able to do business anywhere in the world, which is fantastic.
And that it is, and that's the cool thing. As long as you have internet, life is good.
It's now technology is there, and now we're here. There actually, Elon Musk is testing his new satellite internet here in this area, or at the latitude that we're in, and have a few friends who are testing it right now. And he's worldwide, Wi-Fi kind of whatever they do with the satellites, and suppose that it's actually fast and reliable.
I'm sure it is. They just need to set it up little by little.
You're going to see major disruption in internet connection, in internet availability now. It's not going to be some kind of everybody's going to have great internet soon. That's the thing.
And I think we're lucky we have great internet where we are. And I think it was part of our purchase. That was one of the things you look at. And we did luck out in that we got fiber optic. We were one of the first to get fiber optic. So right now I have gigabyte speed up and down. So there's no connection issues. And I move large files because of the podcast. I've got to move 100 gigabyte files, and I can do that within seconds. So no issues whatsoever. It's, we take it for granted.
We do. I mean, because I remember, growing up on the island, we had the first time I connected, growing up on an island, is that the first time I connected to the internet, I was 14 years old. So, it was not native, and we were kind of late, and it was slow, it was slow dial-up internet. And I remember we were super jealous of people in the mainland because they had like internet with speeds up to like 80 megabytes, and we're like, that's so fast, for us it was like downloading just a photo was taking hours. It was insane.
That is true. And over time, all of these things do improve, and they'll continue to improve. So
they do.
So we're here to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, but in a big thing of it, and I think that came out early, was you talk about 3 freedoms in life: time freedom, creative freedom, and financial freedom. So what was it that made those 3 kind of come top of mind to you?
My journey as an entrepreneur, but also studying how other entrepreneurs work, and there really are motivations behind, entrepreneurship. Why do they want to become entrepreneurs? And what I realize is that pretty much every single entrepreneur has, either one of these motivation as a main motivator, or these 3 freedoms of the main motivator, but most of the time, these 3 together, meaning like, when you go from having a business to having a job to having a business, what you want to do is like, first of all, you want to do your own schedule. You want to work for, you want to do your own schedule and not having someone else dictate when you're going to be working. So that's one of the main, freedom factors. Then there's creative freedom. I think entrepreneurs are, they start in business because they have a solution. They have a creative solution to some of the world's problems, and they're like, hey, listen, I want to do it on my own terms. So they want to do what they want, when they want, but more importantly, they want to get well paid for it, and thus financial freedom here, which is, I think financial freedom is the first one that people really go after, because in people's minds, the more money you're going to make, the more time you will have. Later down the road, you realize that's not always the case. Money helps. Money can, buy definitely some leverage. But then you realize that it's more of a juggling act than, just a game of quantity or numbers.
Well, at the end of the day, having the finances is essentially like breathing. Once you can breathe, you can do more. But if you're struggling to breathe, nothing else matters. And
cash is oxygen. Yeah, 100%.
Without cash flow and without money, life becomes difficult. Unless you can keep your numbers low, which you can do. And there's nothing wrong with that. One of the things I noticed you say, and it's been a shift that I've also gone through, retirement's not in the future of entrepreneurs. Why did you say that?
Say that again, Rocky.
Retirement is not in the future of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. I think it goes with the style, and this is when I make the distinction between, a business owner and an entrepreneur. I think a business owner, and you know what? I think entrepreneurs are business owners as well, but there's a little something about it. If you can be an employee of your own business, and run your own business and love it and make good money with it. But at one point, I think that creative spark, I think that makes entrepreneurs who they are. And it's not right or wrong. Like, it doesn't mean like, and that's one thing that I want to say now is that there's no elite, and I think like entrepreneurs now, we put entrepreneurs on the pedestal now. The entrepreneurs are the new rock stars. And I think it's a little bit, a little bit crazy to think like that. I think it's just a matter of style and personality. Entrepreneurs are creative by nature. Entrepreneurs want to offer creative solutions to the world. And you're going to talk to every single entrepreneur, even like people of a more advanced age. And they're like, you know what? Yes, I can organize my schedule or organize my life so it's different, where it's maybe less focused on action. And the focus might not be on creating things for profits for profit, but more for purpose. And it changes, right? The pay might be different later in your career than earlier in your career, but honestly, I feel like, and with every single entrepreneurs that I've known, that I've worked with, that I've studied, it's always like that. It's like they don't see themselves stop creating, stop bringing value in some ways, and you see a lot of entrepreneurs who, let's say, are at retirement age, act more as, I would say, mentors. They will pair up with younger people who have probably more energy and more, not more time, but more energy than they do, and who can create, more at the goût du jour with technology and things like that, but they will offer their expertise and what they can bring to the table, right? You see that quite often where impact takes over.
And that's true. Once you have your money under control and you've achieved that, then other things become far more important than the dollars do. And that's kind of what you're referring to. One of the things that you talk about, and I think this is important, is to build a business around your life, not a life around your business. And I think too often people don't realize that difference and they don't create that harmony between work and life. And it doesn't matter whether you're a business owner or an employee, it's the same problem, I think.
Well, and there's obviously it's a good piece of advice, but you got to be careful sometimes, because I think what I want to expose is that work and life are not competing forces. As an entrepreneur, I feel like, work and life need to be harmonized. They need to be integrated in some way. They don't have to compete against each other. It's like a dance, right? When you have a dance partner, you're not competing against your dance partner. You actually play with your dance partner. You guys feed off your common strengths, your common strengths, but also your individual strengths in order to create something beautiful. And sometimes one partner will take over, and some other times the other one will do. It's the same thing, in my opinion, with entrepreneurship, with business, and with life. You need to being very clear on what you want your life as a whole to look like. Your big picture. Down the road, what you want to see become a reality. Okay, what you want to accomplish, and you're going to, obviously, for an entrepreneur, business is a big part of it. It's part of your identity. It's part of what you like to do. So there's never really that absence of business or entrepreneurship in the vision. It's there. It's how you make it match with your ambitions. At the time of, if one of the other takes too much or overpowers the other completely, it makes the other one, kind of not as, I would say, as powerful. So it's a dancing act. So I talk a lot about work-life harmony, like the yin and the yang, like the dance, and you have to strive for harmonization and not seeing that as, competing forces where you need to achieve balance. It's not a 50-50 split, it's very contextual.
It is. And you have to define what that is for you. And at different points in life, you have different priorities, and you need to adjust to those priorities and understand what's truly most important. And you've got to figure it out for yourself. So we're here to talk about your book. What inspired you to write the book, Done by Noon: How to Achieve More by Noon Than Entrepreneurs in a Full Day?
So first of all, I can maybe talk about a little bit about my background as a fitness athlete, and then, what brought me to actually, write a book called Done by Noon. So, my background is in fitness. I was a competitive bodybuilder for many years, before I actually started my first business. And in 2007, I came across my first mentor, Lee Hayward, who was actually really a pioneer in the online fitness space. He put the first bodybuilding website on the internet, literally. And when I met him and I learned that he was actually had been making a full-time living since, I think, 1994, running his old website, and he was a fellow competitor too on the local circuit here in Eastern Canada. And I was like, you know what? I need to figure out how you do that. So I traded my obsession for fitness to an obsession with business, started learning about direct response marketing, digital marketing. And from there, I launched my first business, and I went full time in 2009 with a website called The Muscle Cook, which was a website dedicated to offer recipes and nutrition advice to bodybuilders. From there, I launched multiple digital products. And based on that, I started getting the attention of, a lot of other, fitness professionals and pros and coaches online who had audiences, but didn't know really how to monetize them. So I launched an agency from that point to help them, monetize and build their whole online infrastructures, their membership sites, their their products, etc. From there, and so from there, I did that for a few years. And from there, I invested in a supplements company called Bioptimizers, which I sold in 2016. And from there, I had the opportunity to start working with a group of entrepreneurs. So, at this point, I had done my exit, and I was pretty much free to do pretty much whatever I wanted. And I had the opportunity. I just kind of, by demand, out of demand, I started coaching entrepreneurs. And it was when I started coaching, they came to me to learn how to build an online business. And that's what I did. But what I realized is that, these guys don't need more tactics or strategies. What they need is actually systems to, lead themselves properly. A lot of them had no idea. That's, it's like money, Rocky. You don't get schools don't teach you that. Well, it's the same thing with entrepreneurship, or I would say self-leadership, is that schools don't teach you that. Like, schools don't teach you how to act as an entrepreneur. And you know what? It's a lot like sports. And we do in the book, we talk a lot about the parallels between sports performance and entrepreneurial performance, and there's many parallels to draw between both. But it's like in sports, you need to practice in order to get better. Like, you having a degree in basketball is not going to make you a better basketball player, So you need to practice, you need to do your reps, and that's the same thing in entrepreneurship. And the truth is, there's every single entrepreneur, almost 100% of all entrepreneurs will face that critical point where they, start their business out of passion. They do something or a skill, that something that they do very, very well. And at one point, they will actually stop doing that because they will become so busy. They will drift really from their own, out of their power zone and more into a zone where they put out fires, where their workloads are unmanageable, and they just don't know how to go about that. So the systems that I put in place for myself, as an entrepreneur, I start sharing that with my students. And the planner, the Ethic Planner, was the first tool that we released. Before the company was named Ethic, we launched the planner to help the entrepreneurs, and then and from there we started sharing more of our systems. And from there, full-on methodology was born. The company Ethic was born from there. And Done by Noon is actually the name of the time management framework that we use at Ethic, that we teach. And obviously, the name itself, when we started, we started using that name to present the methodology. People started really loving that name. We're like, Done by Noon. This is like the 4-hour work week, but attainable. So, and we had a lot of people were really drawn to that name. And why is that? It appeals to that freedom that all entrepreneurs want, that time, that creative and that financial freedom that they look for. And when you think about it, the fact of being done by noon, it's like, well, I'm going to have the time. I'm going to have time to create. But also that's going to mean that I'm going to make enough money that I don't have to work all the time, right? But it's only when you realize that when you balance the right mix of freedoms that you achieve your true success. And yeah, so the book was pretty much like a need for me, from me to package all my knowledge together, put that into an actionable book and something that it can take and, not just having a Me Too book. I really wanted something that people can read, but also apply. And when you apply it directly, you can see results right away from it. We're not hiding anything, or we're not leading you to other, there are a million things. You read the book, you can apply the methodology and make a significant difference in your life, with it.
And I don't think it even matters if you're an entrepreneur. Everyone needs time management. Mm-hmm. And you've got to figure out how to make it work. The nice thing is when you're an entrepreneur and you finish your work, you get to leave. That's not always the case in a job. Although COVID, when you're done with your work now, you can probably sign off of Zoom and take off if you're working from home. And that's all just a matter of what your particular setup is. So you've got this philosophy, and you call it ethic philosophy, and it seems to revolve around efficiency and efficacy. Can you define those two words?
Yeah, so EFIC really is short for efficacy and efficiency. So efficiency really is the ability to produce something by using the least amount of resources. When you look at a human being, especially an entrepreneur, you're going to see three finite resources that we have. So two of them are internal, our energy and our attention. One of these three is external, which is your time. We all have 24 hours in a day. It's part of a finite resources that we have. We're all equal, in the face of time, right? So the big point that we put our focus on really is learn how to manage your energy and your attention properly within the constraints of time, right? And the priorities as an entrepreneur. So we do that. And the second, so we talked about so we said efficacy, which is the second term. Efficacy is the ability to produce the desired or intended outcome. Okay. And it's something that, we talk about the efficiency first philosophy approach to productivity is that the goal is not to produce as much as possible. The goal is to produce the right, results. The goal is to produce what you want to absolutely accomplish while being responsible with your finite resources. You need to learn how to manage your energy, your attention, and time as well, within the specifics of time. So you need to do that in order to produce the right results. The thing is that you hear a lot of people talk about working hard and working smart. And both are right. Both are needed as an entrepreneur. Nothing comes easy. It's like in sports. No one wins championships by being lazy on the field, right? You need to work hard, and it's normal. It's part of entrepreneurship. That's just the nature of it. So let's stop talking about that. We understand, we get that you need to work hard, but the problem now is that people are like, yeah, but I work smart. Okay, that's great. However, if you don't have the basics, taken care of, why a lot of people try to optimize before they actually have a strong base. It's like going to the gym and starting by taking all the supplements that you can take, but your nutrition is absolute crap. It's defeating the purpose. So it's actually smart to work smart, but when you know that you have a structure that allows you to work smart, and you're going to need to work hard within that structure as well. The key here is to work right. So work right based on what? Work right based on what you want to accomplish. What are your ambitions? Like, be brutally honest with what you want out of your life. It's not like the book is not about working less. It's really about working right. If you want a business that generates 7 figures a year and you want to work long hours, that's your choice, but there's a way to work right or to, properly manage yourself within this process. The truth is, for most people want to have livable hours. They want to have, a setup where they can both enjoy their business and their life. Right. And that's what we show. It's like, listen, if you're very clear on what you want to, where you're going and what you want to do and what you want to accomplish, we'll provide you with a structure that will allow you to be as aligned as possible with it and offer you that work-life harmony that you really seek. And another word that we use a lot in the book is sustainability. The key, it's not like, I'm not sharing a bunch of hacks, put together. It's a system that allows you to be sustainable with your productivity and your performance. One of my friends, Scott Abel, says that always is a performance coach. He's a physique athlete, physique coach too. And he's like, a collection of exercise doesn't make a program. And it's not putting things together that will make an effective program or give you the results that you want. It's how these are put together and how well they work based on your context. And that's really like that philosophy that we, want to bring forward with Done by Noon.
Today's episode is sponsored by Profit Answer Man Podcast. Did you know that most small business owners hate looking at their financials? It's one reason they may struggle with business success. The Profit Answer Man podcast helps them ensure they are profitable and can pay their employees and weather the storms we all have to face. It's built on the Profit First methodology of pay yourself first. The Profit Answer Man podcast is a must listen to for every small business owner and anyone who wants to help them survive and thrive. Check it out on your favorite listening platform. A lot of what you're talking about is basically having clarity in what you want and what you do. I noticed that you talk a lot about self-leadership. Everything that you've been talking about, is that what you meant by self-leadership? Or is that different?
Well, clarity comes with a responsibility of self-leadership, of like always going towards or being aligned with that clarity or with that truth that you have for yourself. Self-leadership really is the ability to lead yourself. That's pretty much what it means. When I talk about self-leadership, I identify three layers to it. First one is self-discipline. It's the ability to be very disciplined, consistent with what you do. The second layer is self-awareness, which is learning, about yourself. And the great thing about self-awareness, it's a never-ending, thing. You always have to learn more about yourself and how you evolve and how you evolve. Sometimes in different seasons of your life, you're going to have different perspective on things, and it's learning to deal with that and learning how you behave according to these seasons. So self-awareness, and the third one is self-respect. And self-respect is really respecting your unique abilities, respecting what you do well and respecting also what you don't do well, right? Because that's a big part of leverage. It's understanding, hey, I'm really good at that. I'd rather advise someone to double down on their strengths than compensate, for their weaknesses, right? And I think when you understand that and respect that, maybe your limitations, but also there's another thing, Rocky, is respecting your ambitions. And ambitions are all different. Ambitions are different based on who you are. All right. We have a big problem in society right now, which is ambition appropriation, meaning like you're going to look at someone and you're going to think, I need to do this, or I have to be like this, or I have to use this person as a model. The only model you need to model, or the only ambition you need to have, are your own. Once you understand through discipline and consistency, behaving like yourself, based on what you know about yourself, and staying true to what you want to accomplish, you are always going to succeed. You will discover in the process new things about you that might change or might evolve, let's say, your ambitions. But in no way, shape, or form should you ever, take someone else's ambition and make them yours. That's really like what I push a lot in the book, is like unapologetically, like, be yourself and be a good self-leader. It's how you're going to behave based on being aligned to all this.
And it's true. Too often I find people are following somebody else's path, not their own. You've got to figure out your own path, your own goals, and stop comparing yourself to others or thinking you want what others have unless you're willing to pay the price that they paid for that. And most people don't look at all of the work that happens behind the scenes. Speaking of work, there's a couple things that you talk about. We'll talk about both of them, but let's start with load management. Mm-hmm. What is this concept of load management?
Load management is one of my most favorite sports performance techniques, because it's the ability to control the load so let's say in sports performance, it's the ability to control the athletic demand on an athlete based on the context. And I use the example of Kawhi Leonard in the book, who was player for Toronto Raptors when they won their championship. And the thing is that when they won their championship, they brought the first major professional championship, sports championship in Canada since the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. It's been a while since we've seen, some gold outside of the Olympics, in Canada. And it was a big deal. It was a big deal. But the main thing with Kawhi is that when they went and traded for Kawhi, they traded DeMar DeRozan, which was a crowd favorite in Toronto. And they brought Kawhi, who had played like only a handful of games the season before because he was injured. And he was played with that image of injury. And when he came to Toronto that year, this is when the world became exposed to what load management is. And in athletics, load management is not, it's a known concept. It's not a foreign thing. But for people, they were like, well, for example, he would never play back-to-back games. Or he would sit out on some game. He sat out for more than 20 games in the year. But ultimately, it created confusion in people's minds because the player needs to sacrifice everything in order to play and win the championship. And they need to, be there every single minute and give the maximum that they can. I was like, this is exactly like the message that we convey to entrepreneurs. You got to give you 130% all the time in order to, if you want to win. The thing is that they manage, the workload on Kawhi very, very well and very efficiently through the year. Alex McKechnie, who's the sports therapist at Raptors, did a tremendous work with him to ensure that he would be there in times of performance. When the playoff came, Kawhi was an absolute beast. He was an absolute beast. And he went very close to actually beating a Michael Jordan record for number of points. I mean, he was spectacular. Why? Because he was able to manage himself properly, his demand through the years, so he could achieve optimum performance when it mattered. And that concept, I was so happy, Rocky, when they won the championship, not only because as a Canadian, it was good to see the trophy in our country, but it proved the point that, when you're able to control the workload, and understand based on your context, based on your history, based on, what you have to accomplish, and you're able to properly manage that workload, you're going to win. No matter what people are saying. He was labeled lazy. He was labeled as not committed to the game, not a real true champion or player. And guess what? He proved everybody wrong when he won because he knew exactly what he was getting into. They knew exactly how to manage that. And so load management is a powerful concept. And when it comes to managing, so we do the parallel in the book with workload as far as an entrepreneur, managing your workload and how you're able to break it down and understanding how to, lead yourself within this process. But it's a powerful sports performance concept that, we talk about in the book for sure.
And I've heard that in the world of sports. I think it's more so along the lines of running. People think that if you're going to train for a marathon or for a long run, you should be doing long runs. But more often than not, it's the opposite. Training with short runs gives you the stamina and the ability to do the long runs. So a lot of this stuff is counterintuitive. And that just reminded me of the concept of load management. Kind of taking the next step from load management was periodization. So working in cycles. Can you dig into that a little bit more?
Yeah. And it's a concept like, for example, in the physical, in the physique athletics that world that where I'm from, it's you see that all the time, right? You're not going to the gym, start doing biceps curls and taking it from there, understanding what you need to do. You do the opposite. You understand that, hey, I need to know what kind of goal do I want? Rocky, do you want to build muscle? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to run a marathon? What is it that you want to do? From there, you're going to start working in cycles. So, okay, well, let's take the next 90 days. We're going to do a 90-day program. We're going to focus on this. And within these 90-day program, you're going to have, you're going to train this on Monday. You're going to train this on Tuesday. On Wednesday, you're going to be off. On Thursday, you're going to do this. And each day you have a specific, amount of exercises with different reps, with different loads, etc. Right? And this is the concept of taking a macro, I would say, environment, a macro goal, and breaking it down into different cycles. What we call the mesocycle, 90-day environment we work. So at Epic, we work in 90-day cycles. The methodology is based on 90-day cycles. And then understanding what are, your moves, what you need to perform and what are your moves, right? So it's like a target. That's really a target, and you understand what your macros, your meso, and your micro cycles, and adapt to that. And when you commit to that, you're not going to become, let's say you want to build muscle. You're not going to become huge in 90 days. However, you're going to do another cycle of 90 days, another cycle of 90 days, with different goals, with different, maybe different sets, different exercises, and it compounds over time. And when you look back after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years, wow, you've made some significant progress. Why? Because first of all, you were disciplined and consistent over time. But second, you adapted to the workload. You adapted to doing the work. You could go to the gym and your first week you can bench press 90 pounds. And after 3 years, you can bench press 300 pounds, right? Because you've adapted to the workload. You've adapted to the ability to work a little bit harder, but also smarter because probably your form is better. You've learned all this through time. But the real key here, it's understanding what's the macro. What do I want to accomplish? Bench pressing heavy weights when you want to run a marathon, it doesn't work. It will not make you, achieve your goals, right? And I feel like when you transpose that to entrepreneurship, it's like, well, why are you doing all this when you want this? You know what I mean? And we always make the parallel, and people are like, yeah, right, I never saw it like this. No, because you were just laser focused into it without understanding the big picture, right? So periodization is another concept that is foundational to the EPIC methodology.
And I use something similar. I use the 12-week year, which is the same concepts. And I set a big goal for each quarter. And this way I can ignore the things that are not part of that big quarter. And I can say, well, that's next quarter or the quarters after's goal. So I can put it aside and let it be. And I focus on what's my priority for this quarter. And that works. And I know, I still lift, but I no longer am looking to increase my lifting weight. But when I was looking to increase my lifting weight, I used an app. And every time you would hit your 5 sets of 5, it would increase your weights 2.5 pounds automatically. So that the next time you went in, you were a little bit stronger. And it also knew if you didn't hit your goals and you continued to miss, then it would pull weight off. Say, okay, you need to take a step back. And it was that constant back and forth balance. And it's the same principles. When you find these principles that work in one part of life that can work in other parts of life, you've kind of found the secrets that are definitely there. Another secret that I love is the concept of leverage. And you refer to leverage in 3 areas: strength, structure, and systems. Can you dig into that a little?
Yeah, so as we said, you should always look into what your strengths are, because if you're to double down on something, I think you should double down on your strengths. That's the main thing that you can leverage. But the thing is that you need to leverage that into the proper structure, and within that structure, equip that structure with different systems, right? And in entrepreneurship, once you do that, this is when you can achieve, the most return, for your investment. And yeah, I think when you look into where it's done by noon, and done by noon, people, again, like it appeals to freedom, like the 4-hour work week does. When you look at the 4-hour work week, it's a book on leverage. It's about how can I produce, let's say with this amount of effort, how can I produce this amount of results, right? With 10 hours of work, how can I produce the equivalent of 80 hours of work, right? And as an entrepreneur, what you need to realize is that, first of all, you don't have to do it alone. A lot of small entrepreneurs are like, well, you're limited to your 24 hours a day, right? And you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to take care of family and yourself within these 24 hours. If you just focus on doing everything yourself, you're never going to be winning. So yes, you have to really understand what your strengths are, because this is when you can apply, get the better results with the amount of force that you're going to put on, but then having a right structure and the right systems, meaning, could be automation, could be outsourcing, could be delegating, and doing it in a way that you're not wasting, your finite resources, your time, your energy, your attention, in the process. So once you understand the concept of leverage, I think it's a mindset shift, really more than anything else in your business, that you can actually achieve way more using less. It's every single hour, every single unit of time, energy, or attention you're going to put is going to achieve a lot, more overall.
And I think where people struggle with leverage, everyone thinks of leverage when it comes to money. And that is one form of leverage. There's multiple forms of leverage. The cool thing is money is the only leverage that goes negative against you with debt. All the other forms of leverage can't go negative. So you don't have to worry when you use the other forms of leverage. They all have just positive results. They don't have negative results when implemented correctly. So it kind of makes that all the more reason to use it.
But money is another external, finite resource. You can run out of it as well.
Yes. And that is very, very true. So you have to use it appropriately. So let's kind of talk a little bit about the actual planner and what's involved with using it and what some of the main themes or outcomes are from the planner itself.
Yeah, the planner pretty much is the practical tool that we have to put the effect methodology into action. So, it allows you to really define your goals. So understanding, okay, where you're going. We have what we call an annual guideline, where we ask you to list the 5 things you want to see become a reality, your 5 outcomes, 5 things you want to see become a reality within the next 12 months. And that becomes your main point of alignment for the year. Our planners are 90-day planners. So, we get you to actually redo that annual guideline, every 90 days, because there's a new 12 months, after 90 days, there's a new 12 months in front of you, and things might have changed, So we do that. And we use one of the cornerstone of the methodology is what we call the productive action process, where and you're more than likely familiar with the pickle jar theory. It's a theory that was really popularized by Stephen Covey when he launched the First Things First, then the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He was not the inventor of the theory, but or the metaphor, but he was the one who really popularized it. And I remember vividly the day that I saw, that demonstration from Dr. Covey of the big rocks, the small rocks, and the sand. I'm not going to elaborate on it, but if you want to go take a look, type pickle jar theory on YouTube, you're going to find the big rocks, the small rocks, and the sand, and you're going to see, someone pouring sand, big rocks, and small rocks in a bucket. And depending on what order you put them into, you're not going to have the same results. So if you focus on the small things, meaning the sand first, and put that layer at the bottom, it's going to create a layer at the bottom of your bucket. And from there, if you attend, the things of a little bit more important things, so the small rocks, same thing, it's going to put another layer. And when you want to put your big rocks in the bucket, well, you're going to run out of space. If you do the opposite and you put the big rocks first, and then the small rocks are going to fill all the gaps between the big rocks. And then when you pour in the sand, it's going to fill all the little holes between the big rocks and the small rocks, and you can have a perfectly filled bucket, but you're also going to have space. That's the beauty of it. You're going to have that space available. And when I saw that, I was like, this is exactly the way, when we talked about periodization, it is exactly the same way we would structure results for a workout. You need to put the right things in the right place. You're not going to start doing micro sets and going from there and figuring it out from there. You start with the structure. And from there, which is what, let's say your bucket. And from there, you're going to fill, what are your milestones? What are your sets? What are your reps? What do they look for? What do they look like? So I started really looking at and understanding, okay, this is periodization and load management at the same time. This is how you should actually look into the real productive work in your business, or the thing that really moved the needle, the innovation, the fact of the projects really that you're gonna put together. So I started really organizing my projects like that, and it was a game changer for me, because I had a structure that allowed me to, first of all, not only just track my project, but also control my workload. And this is really like what people use the most within the planner itself, is that feature, that productive action process that we share. And they're able to extract daily, one small rock that they're going to be performing, on a daily basis to move forward with their projects and their growth in their companies. Because the truth is, for most entrepreneurs, this is something they neglect because they're so busy at being actually reactive to their business environment that the things that are really important, they actually end up not doing them. The strengths that, we talked about, and they end up not, using these strengths anymore because they're so busy. Well, guess what? Now it allows you to have a structure that will allow you to use these strengths, and you're going to have a system to perform that, so it's one piece of leverage there that, you can apply daily to really, move the needle in your business and start seeing the results that you really want.
And it's all about sitting down and thinking about, what do you want? And as you said, every 90 days, you're reviewing it to make sure that you're continuing to be on track. And daily, you've got to see how you're doing towards those goals, towards the big rocks. And, it's funny. I can't tell you how many times I always tell people, you got to look at the numbers. It all comes down to math and simplicity. And I go with my gut. And when you look at the reality of what people's guts say and what they think, and you look at the numbers, you usually, it's eye-opening, because a lot of times it's exactly 180 degrees the opposite direction. And so they're not doing the correct things. They're not paying attention to what they're supposed to be. They're not focused. And if you don't have your eye on the ball, then...
Well, you know what they say, what gets measured gets improved. And the thing is, I think listening to your gut is a great thing. I think it's a sign of self-awareness. However, you need to measure that. You need to understand progress. When you run, you're going to measure it by the time that, you perform. If you want to build muscle, well, it's how much your body fat levels, it's, your weight. There's multiple variables that, make you track your progress. And it's the same thing here, right? And the thing is, what we enforce to with the planner is that daily we offer you a structure, like I would say a holistic structure, which is not just about crossing things off your to-do list. It's really offering a structure that allows you to work on the right things, but also making sure that all the elements of your life, which are, for example, your self-care, is taken care of. There's different routines, habits that you need to put into place in order to, reclaim that freedom, really, right? We're talking, for example, the evening checkout. And when you implement that, that's going to start having a positive effect on your work-life harmony, because these are the things you need to put in place in order to make that happen. So, it's not just, again, just a journal to cross off things off your list. This is really, say, holistic productivity spread, I would say, daily, that helps you, be consistent, do the right things consistently. Doing one week of it won't make you change your life. It's like going to the gym for 1 week. You're not going to change your body. However, if you have the right tools, the right accountability to make it happen sustainably, and that's why sustainability is so important. If you have that and you have the tool to do it, well, guess what? You're increasing your chances of success big time.
And that you are. And nothing happens overnight. There is no overnight success story. Everything takes time. And stop chasing overnight and start doing the work. And eventually you will have success if you do the work. So based on our conversation, what's one action step people can take this week to move forward?
Well, actually, Rocky, we have an offer for your audience that they can take on, and we're making some copies of the book available for free for your listeners, so they can go to effic.co, effic.co/profit, and we're going to hand you a free copy of the book. We're going to just ask you to pay for shipping, but the book we're handing it over to you. Read it and see how you can implement. There's actionable pieces you can put together right now that will make a dramatic, influence in your life right now. And we're sharing kind of, there's the EFIC methodology, the system in it, but also I really wanted to expose the reality of entrepreneurship. We talk about, what it is to be an entrepreneur, we expose, for example, the 5 truths about life and business as entrepreneurs that every single entrepreneur will look and say, yeah, this is what's happening. This is the reality. And there's some nuggets that you're going to be like, okay, I get that. And I understand how the methodology, where it comes from. We talk a lot about sports performance as the backbone of the methodology. So look at it, understand it, and from there, start implementing even small habits in your life that will make a difference. Again, the key, consistency and discipline over time. And the key, what we have here is the tools to do it.
And we will put that in the show notes to make it easy for everyone to find it. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's your secret to living an abundant life?
That's a great question, Rocky. I think you know what? It's alignment. It's alignment and incorporating also frequent alignment checkpoints in my life, meaning like daily, weekly, quarterly, annually. I have different, points at different level where I check on my alignment on what I truly want to accomplish. And, sometimes I'm going to be like, man, you've drifted from what you wanted to accomplish. And sometimes it's going to be like, good job. You actually stayed pretty aligned and in a straight line with what you wanted to accomplish. And sometimes it's also updating the big vision, adding to it based on context. So alignment for me is key always.
In order to have alignment, you need to know what you're aligning to. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have your true north, then it's going to be really hard for you to align to something.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people struggle, is they don't have the alignment that they want to go up against. What did you learn later in life that you wish you would have learned sooner?
Oh, that's a great question. There's many, many things that I wished, but that I would have implemented. But, honestly, it's good, sound, sustainable structure. And the one, the thing is that the one that I acquired as a, in my world, in my time in fitness, it took me some time to actually, understanding that it's the same modus operandi in entrepreneurship, right? So having a structure can sound counterintuitive because you want freedom, and a lot of people who seek freedom will resist structure because of that. And it's actually the opposite. It's when you have the right structure, when you understand yourself, you understand your strengths, and you put together the right systems in the right order. This is how you achieve great leverage. So I wish I would have embraced entrepreneurial structure, early on. I'm blessed that I did that early in my career. I realized the mistakes I was making early on. And even there, it doesn't make you burnout proof. You still have to, manage yourself and manage your resources accordingly. But I wish I would have done that sooner, honestly.
Yeah. So freedom doesn't have zero structure. Freedom comes with structure. And it's the structure that gives you the freedom. If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Transform your body. Transform your body. And I said that, I talk actually about it in the book. And it's a lot of young people who come to me with, I want to become an entrepreneur, or I want to build my own business. Where do I start? And why? I tell them, like, transform your body. Go to the gym and transform your body. Why? Because that's going to give them the tools in order, like the discipline, the consistency, the awareness, and also the self-respect in order to become a better entrepreneur. That's going to put the odds in their favor. Things that they will have to implement, in their life as entrepreneurs. And I think it doesn't make sense when you're into it and you're like, yeah, but I wanted a tactic. Or I wanted something like a quick a quick thing that I can put right now. The real secret is actually the consistency and the resilience, everything that you are building in your life that you can apply there. And there's so many valuable lessons. And, once you understand that, and from there, you understand that now you can read the book, and now you can understand, and now you can fully embrace, what we're trying to do with you now to become better self-leader, because we know that, first of all, you did that. Now you're going to become a better self-leader as an entrepreneur. And what that's going to lead, that self-leadership will lead for you to be a better business leader, being a better team leader, being a better leader overall. And this is how you have real impact as an entrepreneur, and yeah, that's my advice, transform your body.
And I will add to that, transform your mind and body, have the right mindsets. And that's part of, they go together.
Yes.
Yes. One helps with the other.
When things are hard, when you face adversity, then you start noticing that I need to work on my mindset. First thing, very raw physical. From there, you're going to need to understand that you need to harmonize that too, right? Is another example of why harmony is important. They're not competing against each other. They work with each other.
So true. If people would like to find you, connect, learn more about your work, what is the best way for them to do that?
So they can go to effic.co, effic.co. That's the company website. You can look at our work there. My personal website is daveruel.com, Dave, DAVERUEL.com. You can find me on pretty much any social media under the handle at Dave Ruel, DAVERUEL. And come enter my world. Come say hi. I'm pretty much answer to everybody who sends me messages, DMs or anything. So, if you're more interested, go check it out. And Rocky, you're going to have all the special links for your audience in the show notes that they can go and check.
And we will do that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rocky. It was a real pleasure.
David was nice enough to share an affiliate link for the book where you can get it free, which is shipping and handling. If this is what you need, check it out. It will help you manage your time. I enjoyed reading it, and I use many of the principles. If you like a paper-based planning system, check out his planner. It's designed to help you hit all the metrics we chatted about during this episode and more. The key is knowing what you're aligning to. If you don't know your purpose and don't have clarity, no system is going to help you because you're going in circles. We've talked about that many times. It's foundational, as is your health. So even if you're not 18, get yourself in shape. I'm now working out 6 days a week, 3 days heavy lifting, 3 days body movement and flexibility. And the outcomes are life-altering. We have many episodes that go into that in more detail. I just had to move my daughter into a new place. A 3-story walk-up. Let's just say I can still do it. Hey, for our next episode, we've got on Ali Awad to chat about achieving the American dream. We go deep into time and money in more depth. If you like this episode, why not share it? Help someone else out. We all know someone who could use a little bit more time. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.